Welcome back to Life After Corporate, my friend. And if you're new to our show, welcome home. This is the place you land when you've decided to ditch that corporate job and create something special and package your talents as a coach or consultant and launch a business of your very own. And today we're talking to Kareen Walsh, and so wanted to bring her on the show to talk about this messy middle, because everyone is talking about how to get over that six-figure hump or how to get to seven figures, but no one really works with you to get you from, say, 250 to seven figures. So if you're open to that, let's have that conversation. Kareen Walsh.
Deborah, so great. So great to have this conversation with you, because I think that messy middle, as you call it, where the mess shows up truly is, I think, first in the mindset as to why do you really want to scale your revenue past what you're earning already.
Let's
Sometimes,
start there.
yeah, like I that's where I would love to start, because I found that for me, okay, like even just in my own journey from the 6 to 7 figure mark, I did it because it was a financial goal and a target. And then I was able to accomplish it in like 6 months after I actually set that goal. But that was just because I never thought in seven figures before. But when I looked at it, if I really am honest on like how I felt once it was achieved, I just shrugged my shoulders. I was like, and like, I was not impressed by it, because I didn't actually sit in the, why do I even want this in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, why does it actually matter? Just to say that I did it, great, right? Like, I did it and then move on to the next. Now, that's the overachiever in me that will always show up and know that, there's like never enough or whatever, move on to the next. But I'm just curious, if you've ever had that concept discussed before, because I think it really matters to figure out, are you going to go after it because it's just something you want to check off a list, or by doing it, what does that actually do for you?
I think that's a great place to start. And I do believe that many women just have it as a badge of achievement, just as you said, that, it's a number. Oh, I have to get over that seven-figure hump just so I can say I did it.
Yeah.
As opposed to having a reason behind it. So share more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So my business, just to give a background on the first business, that I got to seven figures and sustained that seven figures for several years now. I've been in business 10 years, but I was in corporate too, right? And I have a serious acumen on how to scale other people's businesses, and that acumen then turned into me being a consultant in other people's companies for about 4 years of just me selling my time. That's not scalable if I'm trying to hit a seven-figure mark. What that translates into is $500 an hour, 40 hours a week. Yay, I hit seven figures. If I wanted to work that hard, but I was way smarter than that. I didn't. That's not why. I didn't want to give myself a job going into entrepreneurship. I really wanted to build something that would give me fuel to the life I want to lead. Like, I truly believe your business is an asset to leverage for the life that you want. And if you don't design your business that way, you will also just have a job for the rest of the time you own that business. So there are different models to think about. So the mindset piece for me at that 4-year mark was, okay, seven figures. I've never thought in that way before. I've only really thought in 6. So what does it mean to think in 7? Okay, yeah, I know I can achieve 7 if I did want to, sell my time at that high rate, which I totally could have. Like, I actually had the backing for that, but that didn't feel fulfilling. So I said, well, what if I hit 7 figures in business, but only use 10% of my time? What would that business look like? Because that required me to be someone I was not yet, right? That required me to actually think about my business as a separate entity and not me, the service. And I think that's the thing that some folks get stuck in when you initially come from corporate and you're selling your time for money as a consultant. Like, how do you actually step outside of that and maximize your acumen where other people potentially are doing the work and you're earning a margin off of it, or where you're producing, like me now, I have all these products and services and books and all the things like that can produce another revenue stream. They're different ways, but you have to start thinking about your business as a business and not an employed service that makes you money. So I
Right.
think that's like the first shift
Yeah,
to
take
set.
yourself out of the delivery of the service that you're offering.
Right.
And let's talk about business models, because
Yeah.
there is, the business model where you're a consultant and you're just adding to your bench and you're making that margin.
Yes.
But the multiple revenue streams, I think, is where the magic really happens, and especially in those leverage business models. So would love to have you share with us, because it's going to spur the thinking of the people who are just getting started
Yeah.
to create their business model and their business foundation in a way that is inherently sustainable and scalable.
Yeah. So the multiple revenue streams off your own personal IP, right? So there's the IP that you have that you're implementing yourself. And then there's the IP that you can sell that is self-service model for other people that you maybe created at one time, like a online program or like a workshop of sorts, but then it goes into evergreen, where it can create a continuous revenue stream for you if you just go through a sales model around how that would generate funds for you. And then there's other forms of IP production, like a podcast, getting sponsors for the podcast, earning off the content you create, publications like a book, very small margins in that regard, but still something comes in. Like I still get surprised every single time one of my books gets sold on through Amazon, and I'm like, I didn't even talk about it. Like, how are people even finding it? And then I get these like residual checks. Like it's pretty wild the different types of revenue you can have. There's also, I think people miss the mark too on partnered referred sales. So sometimes if you're one type of service, like if it's a service base that you do, let's say you're a content writer and you know that someone also needs design work, and you want to partner with a designer that you're now collaborating on clients together, but you're two independent businesses, there's another revenue stream you can create by making that introduction. So referral based sales, I think sometimes, or affiliate sales, some people call that as well, is something that gets missed a lot in this industry of consulting or working for, sharing your service, where you can also create a passive revenue stream that way. If you create like a deal in perpetuity for every lead that you give another partnered service. So that's another avenue that not many people explore. I'm trying to think of other ones that I have stepped into from when you are the service, and it's like your IP that you're trying to distribute.
Well, the one that's getting a lot of play right now, and when we were at the event, Gina Bianchini, who's the founder of Mighty Networks, was one of the speakers, and it's community. And communities are really hot properties right now. We just launched the Life After Corporate community. And that's a way that you can serve a lot of people through one offer that you don't have to deliver yourself. So we have a community manager, we have other people, guest experts that come in, and also the community develops a life of its own.
It does. And I love that you brought up community side too, because that's based on the collaborative of what you know and what people need, but you let it have its own kind of brand to it for based on the community that comes together. With my Hey Kareen app that I launched last year, that's another avenue of IP distribution that is leveraging AI that I've done. And that is membership based, similar to like a chat GPT, but now you have a business coach on the go with you, where you're just paying that monthly membership to have the access. And I think that's another way too to leverage and create community from that. Because from that app, then I'm able to see all the questions people ask to then start the conversations in the community. And this is the year I'm going to be launching more of the community side too. But that is great. Yeah. And what you're doing as well to bring these women together and after corporate with all that acumen, my gosh, the things we do in other people's companies. And all the things we take on, and then you take that IP and you start talking amongst yourselves and see what you could build together. That is a powerful community.
So imagine the crowdsourcing that can happen there. So I'm really curious about the Hey Kareen app. Tell us about why you created it, how it works, what you've learned in the process, because I believe we're in an age and stage where we're, as creators, as people who, we're creators. as people who create content, who create process, frameworks, solutions, it really behooves you to monetize everything. And so I'm curious to learn and hear what's in the Kareen Walsh app, or Hey Kareen is the name of the app, and why'd you create it? How's it work?
Well, so literally it's how everyone texts me is Hey Kareen. They start their messages with Hey Kareen, and then the question follows. So that's why I branded the app this way, because I was like, oh my gosh, all these questions and the way I answer them, and I'm answering them fairly similarly, and so many other people could benefit from access to this. And I'm only one person. I only have capacity for so many messages I can send a day, or so many phone calls I can have a day. And as I told you, I'm really, really hell bent on where my time is spent, and for what purpose, that I didn't want to not only be the constraint as to why people weren't getting the support they needed, but I had all this knowledge that also was not getting utilized. And I felt like my impact was getting stunted because of my time. So I cloned myself. I literally took all the years, all my podcasts, all the interviews, all the methodology I've put together, all my case studies, my coaching sessions, everything. Just it's so cool because you can just stick it all in now into machine learning. You give it your personality, which is mine, right? Like, because it's all my content, and I get to give it a personality, which is me, in how I would coach somebody through something based on the questions they asked. And I also wanted a centralized place where my content lives, because when you're on these other platforms, it is so distracting to support the people you need to support, because you're competing with all these other voices that might not actually be supporting them in their journey. So I took all my content, the new content that's coming out, the new interviews, etc. Everything I write is now in one place, so that anyone who wants focused support from me has a place to land, can have that support, but then also dialogue with my AI in order to get their coaching on the go. And it's been so cool to get the feedback from it. I just got a message from one of my entrepreneurs that has been using it. She's like, it literally sounds like you, number one. Number two, I've been testing it. Like, I'll text you the same question that I've asked, her, and you guys say it the same way. I was like, yeah, because it is literally a clone of me on purpose. Like, I want everyone to leverage everything I have, because I just want them to accelerate their growth. And I don't want my time to ever be the excuse as to why they can't get the assistance. So that was originally the impetus behind launching it. And also just to learn the new tech. Like, I've been in tech since my 20s, and I want to always be at the cutting edge of what's going on. So that's where, the Hey Kareen app came from. But it's truly for anybody who's really wanting to move forward in life and business, that wants focused support, right? And to eliminate the distractions and just leverage all my lessons learned, because they're in there.
I love that. I love that so much. It's sustainable, it's scalable. What have you learned since you launched the app? Like, was there anything in that launch that surprised you? And what are some of the lessons learned or insights?
So many lessons. Anytime you dive into new technology, you're always learning something. Because of my acumen in delivering such complex technical projects in the past, and the wins and the lessons learned that I've had from the past, I really approached this initial launch as an MVP, and I got it up and running 3 months after I came up with the concept, which is rare. Like, that is not common for most people, because I knew exactly what decisions to be made in order to just get it out there and see if it actually has traction at the lowest cost possible, right? Lesson learned from that, though, is that I've merged different platforms to create this joint experience, and things kind of aren't communicating well between the platforms as much as I would like them to be. So the experience for my users needs to be enhanced this year. And as much as the people who are using it are loving it, there are still some gaps in the functionality that I know they would like to see. So the lessons learned really are, and And I'm just someone who lives this way. It's like if I see it and I want it out there, I do it.
Yeah,
You know, like I'll invest in it and I'll do it. I walk the talk that I coach my clients to go after too. But I feel like if I had waited any longer, or if I had hesitation, I wouldn't know for sure that this is the path to create legacy for myself. Where I can actually now, the relief I got from it actually getting launched was like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer responsible for holding the weight of it all, that this can be leveraged and I can actually grow from here. So
Yeah.
the biggest lesson learned, I guess, is that if I don't create the methods for people to leverage former versions of me so that I can grow, I will always feel a little bit stuck. And
Ooh, that
yeah,
is huge. That
yeah,
is huge, because then you're always stuck teaching the same lessons over and over again, and you don't get to elevate your expertise and your contribution to the clients that you're working with. That is priceless. The other thing I love about this is when I did my reflections for 2025 and what was going to be changing, it's innovation. If you're
mm,
not innovating in your product portfolio, if you're not innovating with technology or how you're delivering value to your clients, it's a year where you're rapidly going to be left behind, because we're going to experience so much technology change um, in the next, 5 years, that are going to bring us 100 years into the future technologically.
yeah. I
So,
like to also, with the innovation
Mhm.
question though, Deborah, I like to ask what needs to be retired. Because I
Yes.
think I think it's so critical also to say this has had its shelf, like enough already, like this has had its purpose, and it needs to either be shelved for now or retired so that you can create the room for the innovation. Because I think a lot of people go through overwhelm of trying to stack on more if they're not actually creating the space for the more that they want to bring in.
Yeah, we actually retired a program yesterday.
Yeah.
You
Feels
know,
good though, doesn't it?
it feels so good. It alleviates that time on your calendar, and also if you're spread. So going back to the analogy of, dealing with people at various stages on their entrepreneurial or their business journey, it can stretch you very, very thin if you're taking people from 0 to 7 figures, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of different advice, a lot of different coaching and frameworks and
Yeah.
training and technology that needs to go into that. So love that. Now, when we were talking before about what you see coming on the horizon, is there anything else that you're leveraging AI for, as far as getting time back and building legacy, or is it the Hey Kareen app?
I mean, so the Hey Kareen app was my method of others utilizing my
Hmm.
acumen as much as possible in my coaching
Hmm.
stance without me being the blocker for that. But when for me in my own business and like how I leverage and learn about AI to continue to grow and in an efficient way, like I see AI as enhanced efficiency. Like there are so many platforms out there now that you could just get to your answer faster to create a decision on what action to take next. It's not meant to take over. It's meant to support you at the pace that we are so dynamic that I feel like finally where we are able to move forward at the pace that our minds actually work, you know? So there are different platforms I leverage at different times, so I'm constantly educating myself there. But what I feel like the shift, because I just want to talk about, some people have this fear around AI because
Hmm.
that is just a marketing ploy to get you more curious to go check it out, honestly. There's no reason to fear it. It has been around a long time. You just wasn't so available to us, as it is now with all the different platforms coming out that you can leverage on a daily basis. I find that I've been having more dialogue around it's forcing us also to be a little bit more human. And I wanted
Yes.
to discuss that with you only because I know how much you value relationships. There is something about using AI for that efficiency stake to then now ask yourself, where are you going to spend that extra time?
Yeah.
And what is it that you can maximize relationally now that you're more efficient leveraging these tools that are out there. And that to me, I think, is the winning direction of what's going to happen next, because it makes us more human. We actually have more time to connect. We have more time to discuss, what's next or what we want to create together, and see those tools as like a foundational piece that's integrated into our operations, but not replacing who we are as people.
Yeah, and to just be specific. So some of the things that my clients and I used AI for was for our business analysis and planning, for that rear view exercise of, I uploaded, there was one Saturday. Saturdays are my AI days.
Oh,
I sit
great.
there with coffee at the breakfast table, and one Saturday, I uploaded 4 years of financials and said, this is my goal to get to this number at this amount of profitability. What needs to happen in my business in order for that to happen? And then we had this amazing conversation that probably lasted a couple of hours. And out of that, so I had already been thinking about launching the community as a way to leverage the expertise. And we have so much, like you said, so much content. We can, pop in courses in there, throughout the course of the year and keep people educated and entertained. And there was so much that came out of that. But even more recently, saying, okay, let's turn this into a plan. What is, the annual plan? What are the key goals? Quarterly, monthly? Okay, let's take Q1 and go week by week. So we really leverage that as to something that, because goals are great, but goals without a plan to achieve them are just, wishful thinking strategies. So that's one way we're using them. I think the trickiest thing, love your point of view on this, is in AI and marketing and your voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that, there was a time where I was probably overly relying on AI to generate some efficiency in the marketing conversation. But that, and I know you have a spiritual side to what you do as well. So communication is energy.
Yes.
And if you're using
And it needs to be authentic.
And it needs to be authentic. So what's your take on AI and marketing? And you just mentioned more authentic interaction and connection.
Yeah, I'm finding I similar to you, I was testing all the different platforms, like how could it create marketing language for me? Do I have it write my blog post? Do I have it do my social post? And so I tested it for a while. And what ends up happening, because now these platforms have tracers to know whether or not your content is AI or original, it started to skew who got to see it and like how many views and if it got distributed, all the things. And so we got dinged for doing that initially. I do like using it to help me get clarity on what I'm trying to say when it's for my own brand. Where it makes sense for me to then rewrite it in a way, naturally, but just get some input from AI tools for that. I think that if you are a product brand, it's about consistency of your message. And so if there are different ways that you can have AI do that for you, and it's really about getting in front of people again and again and again and running ads and doing all that piece for it. That has a different model where AI can be leveraged a little bit better and easier because it's a product that you're trying to sell. But when it's you and your personal brand, I think you have to plug in who you are. I think you have to keep it simple and focused on your core values that you offer as a brand. But do it at the pace that lights you up, not at the pace that these platforms say you have to do it. And the reason why I say that is that because you're in community, we only have a certain capacity to actually pay attention. And so when we do pay attention, we want it to land on us, like as the receiver of someone else's personal brand. I want to know that when it lands on me, that's that person, right? And so for example, the post I did pre-year end, I was like, here's why you need to sage your house before the year starts. I did this on Instagram. I did that post has been shared and liked because I was like, these are the reasons why, and just here, like, go cleanse your house. Like, it was something where it start the new year fresh, not, because I do have that spiritual side to me, but it was for my audience. And I had more non-followers, leverage that post than my followers did, because it spoke to a community that believes in, cleansing the space and et cetera, whatever. But it was very authentic to me because it's literally in my daily practice. Like, I do it all the time. So I think you have to stay authentic in the messaging around what's going on for you personally, if it's a personal brand that you're building for attraction. And I also feel like it has to go at a pace that lights you up to do it, so that when you are connecting with your audience, it is you that's connecting to it.
Yeah. So we've talked about the messy middle and how to ensure you have a business model that's scalable, that's not overly reliant on your time and you as the primary deliverer of services. We've talked about technology and leveraging AI. Let's talk a little bit about mindset. Like, what needs to shift from a mindset perspective from someone who is, say, 500, 600K in revenue, trying to get over that 7-figure hump. And it's been like 2 or 3 years and they find them same place over and over again. What needs to shift from a mindset perspective?
Well, I would first ask yourself what's going really well that you want to continue with. Just because taking the inventory sometimes around the things that you want to continue is important. But for example, when I built my 7-figure business, the way I did it didn't excite me very much. I was just happy to cross the threshold of that number. And so I really worked hard to minimize my time, where that business only takes 10% of my time and oversight. Like, I'm not in that anymore. Like, I run that business, I own that business, but I'm not really delivering anymore. And it earns twice as much now because I had to get out of my own way and detach from me being that service. So I think when you're in that mid, $500,000 a year in earnings in your company, and you're trying to go larger, whatever that number might be, like, you might have a target of 5 million. Well, if your target is 5 million from 500, that's a different business model. Also requires you to know the role you have to play and who you have to become to lead it at 5 million if you're going to be a part of it. And I think that is the mindset shift of, I'm running a business here. I'm not just earning my income.
Right.
And earning my income is a totally different play than owning and running a business. And if you're not familiar with that kind of modeling, right, like what it means to actually be an owner of a business that brings in 5 million a year, that has operational efficiency, that has services that are reliable, that can distribute product if that's your business or whatever it is, that is what I would learn first before actually creating the target that you're going to push yourself towards making that happen. Exactly. So clarity on the vision, number one, of where you're trying to go and why, and then who you have to become to lead in that is the second thing that starts to shift the mindset. Because if you don't know how you're going to lead in it, then you're constantly going to perpetuate the results you have, because you're at the max of what you know, basically, regarding your business.
And you have to show up differently, make different choices, make different 100%. Decisions.
Yeah, it's why I created my my CEO quiz. It's heykareen.com/CEO. This quiz allows you to identify your innate zone of genius for the ideal role in your business. And CEO stands for creator, entrepreneur, and operator. There are 3 distinct roles that every single business has to have leading it. But if you're someone that is constantly in creation, you're the creator mindset, and you don't really like to sell, and you definitely don't like to execute, well, your business is going to flatline for sure, because those 2 other skills are needed. And if you're trying to do all 3, you're definitely on the route to burnout, because that doesn't light you up, the other 2 roles. So to identify it and then start to take action on how you grow your business from that zone of genius, that ideal role, now starts to shift how you look at your business, the role you want to play in it, and then the who else you need in it to take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Because no one succeeds alone. You have to build a team. You have to have technology behind you and a strategy to get there. Kareen, what is on the docket for you for 2025? What are you most looking forward to this year?
Yeah, so it's interesting as you were talking about your 2025 intentions. I found that when I sat in my vision work, it took me through 2026. It's
Mhm.
because
It takes a while.
2025 is a foundational year for what I truly want to excel at in 2026. And I declared this in one of my groups that I'm a part of that holds me accountable. I was like, okay, I think 2026 is my world tour year. Like, I want to go live in different parts of the country and do and get paid to speak, right? To show up, run workshops, whatever it looks like. But 2026 for me is a world tour structure. That's the vision I have.
Mhm.
Like, I love my visions. They come to me in very grandiose ways and stretch me. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's the vision, wow, okay, 2025 has to be so foundational, so relational, and enable me to warrant that type of vision and goals for
Mhm.
2026. So in this year, I'm getting more efficient. My word of the year is discipline,
Mm.
because I feel like I am a very disciplined person when I have the framework in front of me of what I step into that works for me, but I'm being hyper disciplined around how my business is efficient, how I communicate, who I'm connecting with, how I treat myself so that I'm in my highest level to even handle a world tour like that. Like, my health has to be in check. And then making sure that everything I test this year is for longevity, meaning the longevity of whatever product or service or method that I put out there that people are going to crave and want again and again. And so that is the vision of this year as we're kicking things off, to ensure that I have stability as a foundation for 2026 to be this, all over the place with conscious, planning,
Mhm.
but and able to impact on a more global level is kind of what the calling seems to be these days.
I love that for you. I love that for you. There's no staying stagnant for you or for me, actually.
That's right.
Um,
That's
you
why when
know,
we first met, Deborah, it was like instant hug. We hadn't even met before, and we were
I
like,
know, like,
"Hey, what's going on?" Because that's how we are, right? Yeah,
yeah, it's a soul recognition.
it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So for people who want to learn more, first of all, you have the quiz, you have the app. How do people get all of that stuff?
Yeah, so heykareen.com, it's HEYKAREEN.com is where you can grab all that info and leverage any of the tools I have by downloading the app. I would say if you want to connect with me or see the behind the scenes where I share the lifestyle of an entrepreneur and all, the journey of things, I'm more on Instagram. So that's Kareen Z. Walsh, obviously on LinkedIn, which you are so well connected on, Deborah, and I love the way you show up there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kareen Walsh there. And so really just message me too. Like, if there's something going on with you where you're feeling a bit challenged, or just unsure about what next step to take, ask. Like, I love to encourage people to just ask and see. People who have gone before you definitely want to bring you forward, so in a faster way, and leverage their lessons learned. So that's what I feel like my platform's all about, but that's how you can connect with me.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful part of female entrepreneurship that doesn't
Mm.
always exist in the corporate world where there's a lot more competition. We really are focused on helping you get to your next level. And so there's no such thing as a stupid question. No one's going to judge you. We're all here to, raise the level of success for all women entrepreneurs and leaders. And it's been such a pleasure to have a more intimate conversation with
Yeah.
you about what's going on in your world and what you've learned. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with our listeners, Kareen.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. I love our conversations.
I know I do too. We have to do it more often.
Yes.
That's it for now, my friends. Download this episode, listen to it twice, take notes, and follow Kareen on LinkedIn and Instagram. We'll continue to fill you up with the best strategies, the best advice, and the best tools to be successful as an entrepreneur after corporate. We'll see you next time.